welcome, welcome, welcome. Week 15 is almost in the books, so hopefully you guys aren't playing Warren. I mean, you might, but I'm so nervous about that. Him popping up today with an illness and then expecting him to play, it's too much risk for my liking. But we're here to help you with Waiver Wire. Mike, what are your thoughts for tonight's game? Are you willing to roll out Warren?
So I'm in a situation where
Oh God.
I have to
No.
because I have no other choice, and I saw it this week. I'm up a decent amount on my opponent. I think I'm up about just under 40, but they have Rogers, Achan, and Kenneth Gainwell. So I was like, holy crap! If Warren's out, that's my last player. So I'm up like 40 points. He has the person I'm playing. She has those three. I have that one. I was like, okay, I should be okay. And then I was like, if Warren's out though, not only does it hurt me, but Kenneth Gainwell gets a boost. And I was like, I'm in trouble. But I have no choice. I made the rookie mistake. I kept him in my RB spot and not in the flex. And so like I'm lucky he's at least active, and I'm hoping that he gets some run here. But I would have been just I would have been screwed. And so it sucks. It sucks. The Roma Dunze thing, that was crazy. I've never seen that happen before. Luckily, it didn't affect me. I actually had a I made the decision to bench him like 15 minutes before the game started, not even knowing that he was out, thinking he was active, and so I would have missed that had I had him in. So weird week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I got it answering questions live on Sunday. Luckily, the group chat popped off and said, "Hey, he's not playing." I'm like, "Okay, well, you have to sit him then." And Luther Burden gets a massive jump up. I mean, if you need a flex, probably DJ Moore. So it's crazy how this could go, but super pumped. And then, of course, so things to worry about this upcoming week. Lot of players. I mean, 2 Saturday games to start. So you're going to have 3 games before Sunday now, which means you're out of 6 teams potentially, which is brutal. Then you also have Jets are out, Bengals are out, Browns, Titans, Chiefs, Raiders, Commanders, Giants, Vikings, Falcons, Saints, and Cardinals all eliminated from playoffs. What are they really playing for? That's the question. I don't think that you're too worried about a handful of these because they're still working into players, but it is going to be interesting to see how this ends up rolling out moving forward.
Yeah, I would assume like guys that are healthy on those teams, I'm not worried about them. Like players want to play and coaches need to build stuff. But the guys that are Drake London comes to mind. What's the incentive for the Falcons to bring London back? I know that coaching staff needs to win some games, so maybe that's the incentive. Obviously, London wants to play, but they already shut down Jaden Daniels, and Trey Benson got shut down, and Garrett Wilson. Like, does he just get shut down? And so guys that are currently hurt on those teams, I'm worried about Devontae Adams, which I know we'll get to because the Rams are, they need to keep winning, but they obviously have their eyes on the prize in January and February. So yeah, it was a bloodbath yesterday, man. It was tough.
Yeah, all right. But with all of that information, also, unfortunately, Mahomes went down, is going to be done for the year with an ACL. So with that in mind, we're going to start off with quarterbacks. Shouldn't be any surprise because guess what? Jacoby Brissett, still 35% rostered, way too low. He has shown you every week that he can get it done. It does not matter the defense he is playing. He is putting up the numbers. And even this week, everybody was out on him. I was still in because he just continues to put up these numbers. Even this week, his toughest matchup yet, he put up 21 fantasy points. I mean, his lowest output has been 18 fantasy points. It is insane to me. So the fact that he is this low rostered is crazy. But also with Patrick Mahomes news, Gardner Minshew, widely available this week, gets the Titans, I think. That sounds right. But easy matchup again. And he's not scared to throw the ball. So he might turn it over, but he's going to have you set up just fine with your fantasy. I'm not worried about it at all. And I would expect Gardner Minshew to be just fine. And also widely available. It's 0.6% rostered. So I'm guessing that's only Dynasty Leagues. Those are my picks. Who are you rolling with, Mike?
I mean, we got to talk about Trevor Lawrence. He's just under the threshold. Now, I am a little bit skeptical this time of year when you see those guys right around 50%. It's probably like a lot of leagues that are competitive because there's a lot of leagues that, people just if you don't start it with friends and stuff like that, like if it's just a random league, people are just like done after a few weeks. And so I would assume like realistically, this is more like 75% of competitive leagues or 60%. But we got to talk about Trevor Lawrence. I think I think I heard he had the best fantasy game this year and the best one since last year, like week 14 of last year, like Josh Allen or something. Are we trusting him? But knowing that he's going up against the Broncos, can we trust Trevor Lawrence is the big question. Like he's coming off a huge week and he's playing so good lately. He's playing, he's playing the best he has in his career. I feel like this offense is clicking, but he gets the Broncos. What are we doing there? Are we just stashing him for week 17 and hope we make it against the Colts? Are we trotting him out there in week 16? What are you doing with Lawrence?
So I kind of looked at this. The one thing I am nervous about is he hasn't faced a tough pressure yet since the Texans, and that was his last down game. As much as you can say about that,
Yeah.
but that's like the one thing making me hesitant because with Myers, he's been incredible, and now Brian Thomas is performing at a good level. He has all the weapons available, and so it's really tough to get away from him. So it would really be dependent on your other potential available options. I feel much more comfortable playing Jacoby Brissett, for example. So if he is available, that is the person I'd much rather play just because I know Broncos are still a good defense. It didn't really show up as much this week, but the Packers have so many weapons. It makes it tough. And I'm just more worried about it being a game that they get pressure on him and he struggles a little more than we have seen in the past. And so I'd put his ceiling. I mean, that's probably safe to say. I would put his floor probably around the 15 fantasy point mark because I don't think he's going to kill you. But the opportunity being there, if he gets knocked out or anything against that tough team, playoffs. I mean, at the playoffs, I just can't bring myself to do it. But moving forward, I definitely want him on my roster.
Yeah, I felt the same way though about like what's weird is I felt the same way about Brissett last week against or yesterday against the Texans, and Brissett still had a good game. So it's like it's possible. I agree, it is a risk, and you want to minimize risks in the playoffs. But man, it's so tempting, and Jordan Love, like I know you mentioned like he didn't have a great game. He threw for 275, but a touchdown, two interceptions. I think a lot of that production came in the first half as well. So the other intriguing thing about Lawrence is he's running the ball more. You just look at his box score. 7 of the last 8 weeks, he has double-digit rushing yards. He has 5 rushing touchdowns over those 7-8 weeks or so. I think he has 7 on the year, I believe, 6 or 7 on the year. So that's a big part of his game too. But I tend to agree with you. But I want to pick him up and then just think about it all week of what am I going to do. I at least have that option. So some deeper ones. JJ McCarthy is he's been playing well as of late. Is he starting to figure it out? We know he's always a candidate to run one in or to pick up some yards, and he's playing the Giants, which is a great matchup for him. And then Marcus Mariota will throw out there. He's always a decent one to stream. Again, a lot of it coming from his rushing production and stuff like that. He gets the Eagles, so are they a good defense? I don't know, but Mariota has 10 rush attempts in 2 of his last 3 games. That's pretty hard to have a bust game when you're rushing for 40 yards or whatever. So there are a lot of options on the quarterback market.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Mariota, I don't love this week, but because he does get the Eagles, who have been playing pretty well even without Carter. I mean, they just completely decimated the Raiders, which doesn't surprise me, but still, got to keep that in mind. Oh, baby. So before we go anywhere, Glitchy had his team pop off. He's currently winning 183-54, only with the other guy waiting for Waddle and Achane to go, so should be pretty set there. But more importantly, Will Taylor coming in strong. Asking, do you trust Dak or Burrow, or do you rather play Brissett this week? Oh man,
I'm gonna trust Dak
against the Chargers.
Just in general, like like Dak yesterday, tough matchup against Minnesota, right? Like Minnesota was giving up like 5 points a game over the last month to quarterbacks. He didn't have a great game, but he threw for almost 300 yards. So like he gives you a touchdown, even just one touchdown, it's a pretty good game, right? And so like I think it's a little fluky. I look at more of what he's been doing yardage over the last month, and it's 300 guaranteed. It seems like. I know the Chargers have been really good as of late. I would still trust Dak. To be honest, I just think that offense is it's different when you're comparing maybe the best offense in the league. Um, so who was the other one? Burrow.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know what to think about what's going on there. But he plays the Dolphins. I'd probably be okay with Burrow too. I mean, all three of those guys. It's tough to know where I'm at, like how I would rank them, but I would definitely like in my mind right now. I would trust them, but I also really like Brissett. So
Yeah, I think at this point I think it'll be very dependent on my current matchup. So if I just need somebody who's not going to tank me, I think I'm going to go Brissett just because I am so nervous. And he has a decent matchup against the Falcons, who've kind of been allowing anybody to really move the ball. And without a run game, they're going to have to throw. Again, they lost Knight, and it's going to be between Carter and DeMarcado. And I just don't think there's enough of a workload there. And he's going to, I mean, I don't think he's had a game under 40 past tense this year. So going to keep that rolling because that opportunity is just too high at this point. But it's close with Dak. I mean, I felt pretty confident playing Dak this past week, and like you said, had he scored a touchdown or thrown a touchdown, it would have been a big boost, but just didn't happen. So, it's interesting.
yeah, just again, yeah. I mean, and to Dak's point, like Kansas City had a good game. They're always a pretty tough defense. Denver, Dak did have a down game against Denver. I feel like there was another Green Bay. He had a big game. Again, that's going back to September. It's always hard to judge that stuff. So like, there's really only one really tough matchup that Dak struggled against. It was Denver. Um, I don't know. It's hard to go away from Dak. To be honest, to me it really is.
Yeah, not ideal. So, it definitely makes it tough. But all right, we'll get out of quarterbacks and get into running backs. Oh, uh, here we go. Before we get into running backs, I guess our thoughts on Warren tonight. I know you have to play him. Would you suggest other people play him? Because I know I'm not. I'd much rather prefer to play Gainwell, but it really is dependent on
Oh
other
yes.
options.
If you have Gainwell, absolutely. Like I just don't know what else can you pivot to. Let's just assume he's in your flex. I'm not pivoting to any of the tight ends. Um, maybe Waller, but I don't think so. Like I assume Waddle's already going, Metcalf's already go. Like I think about the pivot options, and there's just not much besides Gainwell. So to me, it's like Gainwell, or I'm just starting Warren and hoping he's okay. Pump some fluids into him and let's go.
Yeah, and I agree. I've been high on Gainwell because again, the way they've been using him in the passing game and his explosivity, they've really been using him in the right way, which is super impressive, and he continues
Yeah.
to have that upside. But now with Warren potentially out, we've seen what Gainwell can do, and if they don't need to use Warren and they can just use Gainwell and run it, this game's going to go insane because Gainwell will be just a monster. We've seen him. I think he had one game without him, and he put up 30 fantasy points or something stupid. So
Yeah.
it definitely makes it interesting. So I would
Yeah.
get. I
He
think
went
we're both on the
crazy.
Gainwell train if possible. If you have to pivot away from that
Yeah.
even further, uh, if you get return yards, Malik Washington. but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
outside of that, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I'm not willing to play. I'm not willing to play Austin. I'm not willing to play any other
No.
wide receiver or tight end. Really, I mean,
It's can't even. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe Fryermuth, but I don't know. He's even playing. I'm sure he is. But what's crazy is the Dolphins defense, number one against running backs over the last month. They were like the matchup to target, and now they're like, turned it completely around somehow. So, um, but yeah, it's Gainwell, or I'm just gonna roll with Warren. So
yeah. So if you have Gainwell, it's Gainwell, and then you'll play Warren. But this is again, has been a good matchup recently. Well, not recently, this year, but now it's kind of gotten tougher. So much rather play
Yeah.
Gainwell given the opportunity. But we are in running backs. So first guy I'm going to talk about shouldn't be any surprise. Michael Carter was the one who saw the majority of the work for the Cardinals with Bam Knight, Donovan Knight going out. He's 7.8% rostered. Don't love this as an option, but if you need a potential fill in, you could do worse. I liked his usage. I'm again, it's really a toss up between him and DeMarcado, but the fact that they limited him still coming back from the injury, I would be curious if they're just trying to see what they have, and so they use Carter a little more just because. Then, speaking of other players going down, with Devin Neal going down, Audric Esme seemed to be the one who stepped up. So, with that in mind, he's 0.7% roster, very widely available. If he gets the full time job, I do think he'll be just fine. I mean, we've seen them use Neal in the passing game. Esme has a pretty good hands, so I think he would fill in just fine. And then, of course, much lower down the list, we keep talking about handcuffs. Well, you had the handcuff from Bashal Tutin, and now it's LaQuint Allen, 0.6% rostered. Have to throw him on there just because, again, it does look like Tutin's likely going to be out at least this week, and you need to have your handcuffs. So, making that a blanket statement, that's why we have this list going on anyway, but that in mind. What handcuffs do you want to talk about, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is the last week, by the way, for handcuffs, because if you survive week 16 with your main guys not getting hurt, and assuming they don't get the flu on Monday night or something, you don't really need them anymore. So, but I will talk about two guys that are kind of not really handcuffs anymore because you can almost start them if you're in deeper leagues or desperation. But Algier and Corum, both those guys. Algier's a little tougher in my opinion, like a little bit less reliable. It's kind of like, well, do they use them when they're winning? Kind of, but then kind of not. Like if they're gonna be winning in a game, you probably get 12 to 14 touches from Algier. And that could turn into a touchdown. That could be, he could have a big catch and run, or catch or run, and stuff like that. So, not only is the handcuff to Bijan, and assuming hopefully nothing happens to Bijan in week 16, but if something does, you have a smash play in week 17. He's also start worthy. Blake Corum is, kind of the 1B now to Kyron. Both these guys are awesome. They're scoring touchdowns. Corum has 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. And, it's a little bit, he's very efficient. So it's, you got to be always a little bit, you're always a little bit nervous when you see that. But again, like, if you're trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel a little bit, like this is not a bad option, Corum for the Rams. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt had a big game. Bill, we saw Chris Rodriguez out. Is he gonna miss another week, or we don't know yet, right?
We're not sure.
Rodriguez.
So it was
Okay.
a really great match for the running back,
Obviously,
and I was super pumped for
yeah.
Rodriguez, and I was just like, well, this should be an easy one to eat up. But then they said he was out, and I'm like, I don't know who to go to because I don't really trust either of them to have the full job, and they didn't. They split it almost directly, but Bill definitely outproduced Jeremy. So
Yeah. Yeah, they split it, and that's where sometimes, like obviously I love, snap shares, and it's really important. There are times when it's like, okay, snap share is 50%, but he's getting 20 touches or something. So it's like, does it really matter that he's not playing 70? But yeah, I mean, if Rodriguez is back, ignore this. I don't even want really Bill on my team, to be honest, if Rodriguez is back. The Eagles matchup is not, like, in our minds, I think we think it's a tough matchup. It hasn't really been this entire year. They're kind of middle of the pack for the year for points given up to running backs, and over the last month, they're probably it looks like they're about in the top 7 or 8 to points given up to running backs. So I'm not super worried. Maybe if Carter comes back, but we've seen this before from Bill, unfortunately. So we could get a fluke game, but let's see what happens with him. And then Jaleel McLaughlin, Harvey had an injury in that game as well. So Dobbins is already out. And so we'll see about Harvey. I think, it looks like, I was going to say, I thought I heard the Broncos added someone, and I think they did from Jacksonville, right? Yeah, Cody Schrader he was a rookie last year, and stuff like that. I don't know what that means. He was on Jacksonville, I believe, so maybe it's a little bit of, hey, we're playing Jacksonville, let's get some insight. But Harvey dealing with the injury. I think McLaughlin might be the next man up there, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, at the very least, they'll be using him in the passing game. That's really the role you want. I mean, uh, as I continue to say about Singletary, the thing I like about Singletary is the fact that he gets the goal line work. So if they get close,
Yeah.
Singletary's coming in and likely going to be the one who steals the touchdown. Tracy really had a good game because he got the usage and scored from a distance. So really was a big benefit to him and had a massive game. But definitely something to keep an eye on if you're looking for people who, if you're in a league that only gives you points for scoring touchdowns, that's definitely something to look at. All right. So out of running backs, and we'll move into wide receivers. But with that in mind, we do have a question. Harris fan, with Watson's status up in the air, should he drop Watson for Mitchell, Burden, Vele, or Jerry Jeudy? Are you willing to drop Watson at this point? I think they said it was an AC sprain, but I'm not 100% sure if that was the case. Which, if that is the case, it's probably, I mean, I'm guessing he'll be done for your playoffs if that's the case. So I'm fine dropping him if.
Yeah.
But you have another day to look at any kind of injury report and see what the case is. Do you have
I
an
think I
interest
would
in
drop
any of
him.
those?
I mean, yeah.
Any of those guys?
Yeah, a couple of them we're going to talk about, right? Definitely not Judy. I heard Judy on the list. Like,
Yeah.
that's probably I was excited about Judy this year, but obviously that didn't work out. Judy with Flacco all the way back then. I think I would probably move on from Watson. Even if I don't get any news, I just don't think he's going to play this coming week. And the Packers are looking pretty good to make the playoffs for the most part. I mean, they're not a lock, that's for sure, but I think they can afford to potentially bench Watson for a couple weeks. So I think I would just move on.
Yeah. So I'm willing to drop him, and the person I would drop him for is going to be the first one on my wide receiver list. Luther Burden, 21.9% rostered, widely available. Again, Adunze, I keep bringing it up because I saw it was a foot. They said he was active, and guess what? He aggravated it going out and running drills before the game. So that's going to be something that sticks with him. So I'd much rather go with Burden, who had already been coming on. Think the opportunities are going to be there. I like the idea of Adonai Mitchell, but he is a big play, and the risk there is just too high. I know he's gotten. I mean, he has the best separation score, so no surprise there. That all it takes is them getting the ball to him, but the opportunity for that's clearly going to be few and far between. So I'd much rather go with something consistent and Luther Burden. And then, of course, the next one would be Devon Vele, because, again, this is a team that's throwing a lot. Shuck is really liking him. One of the top target getters. It's also, with that in mind, that's the reason Jawan Johnson has just dropped off a cliff for their tight ends. It's because they're using their tight ends to block because they need all the help they can get, and that allows for Vele to go further down the field and be the Shahid type player that they used to have, that they're now developing with Vele. And that big play both of these guys are really big play, but I mean all three of them. But I just trust these offenses a little more, especially with how Shuck has been playing. Brady was fine for Mitchell, but I have to see more of it before I'm willing to trust that as somebody that I want on my team. So those are my two. Mike, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I will say Vele was injured. I guess his arm, he was in a sling or something. It was kind of like a sneaky, easy to miss one there. I don't know how serious it is or not, but if he's healthy, though, I definitely like that. I mean, the Packers guys, we got to talk about Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden. Do you have a lean on either one of those? Like, I think Golden actually looked decent yesterday when Watson went out, but we know Jaden Reed's a little bit of a big play guy. Do you have like a lean on Reed versus Golden at all?
I mean, the one who actually ended up having the most success was Dobbs. He came back onto the field a lot more, but
Yeah.
I think at this point, you're really just grasping at straws. I hate the wide receiver room for the Packers for this reason, because it literally is. You don't know who's going to go to every week. Even if the guy's out there running the most snaps, doesn't mean they're getting the most targets. Who he's looking at the end zone always changes. I mean, it had been Watson up to this point, and it just trusting any of them is just such a stretch for me that I can't bring myself to do it. Again, like I said, Dobbs was the one who ended up with the most, but normally what ends up happening is actually Wicks becomes the guy who comes in when Watson's out. I'll be curious to see if that's the one who actually ends up winning all this, but it's terrifying. I hate playing this Packer wide receiver game because you don't know. It's fortune tellers, give us your best because good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, them and the Bills are like, they're like that.
Driving you crazy. So, that becomes tight end roulette in its own right because all that drives me insane. Because Kincaid should be the one dominating, and now it's Knox again, which who knows? Sorry.
Yeah, I know it is frustrating. Jalen Coker, available basically everywhere. He's been playing well, like very consistent. Is it going to win you a week? Probably not. But I mean, if he gives you 4 for 60 and a touchdown, you're going to be extremely happy. That's basically, he's done that the last 2 weeks. 4 for 74 and a touchdown, 4 for 60 and a touchdown. He's basically guaranteed to catch 3-4 passes. He's going to get probably in that 30 to 60, maybe 70-yard range. And if he catches a touchdown, you're happy. So he's back out there. He plays a lot. They're playing the Buccaneers, which I'm not super worried about. So defensively, and so Jalen Coker out there. And then Jaden Higgins had a down week, still playing quite a bit. CJ Stroud's looking good. The Texans are kind of looking a little scary, to be honest. And I'll be interested to see if they really try to get a second consistent option there, the receiver. Wide receiver there, next to Nico, as they kind of make a push to the playoffs here, and because you're going to need it in the playoffs, because teams are going to be able to shut down Nico potentially. So you need someone else to step up. Jaden Higgins had been playing well coming into last week's game. He was kind of like a Jalen Coker, basically. Give you 3, 4, 5 catches, 30, 50, 60 yards, and maybe he gets a touchdown. Had the dud game, just 1 for 4 yesterday, but still like him, and they get the Raiders as well. So you gotta like that matchup there.
Yeah, the issue for him, as was my initial worries, Stroud coming back, and of course him then dealing with Schultz. Schultz has clearly been the other favorite target for Stroud, and the bond is just there, and you trust him a lot more because, again, if you're 1 for 4, not the ideal situation, and Stroud is not somebody who forgets easily. So definitely more interested to see how that ends up working out. All right. Well, with that in mind, we're going to get out of wide receiver and go into tight end. And Will Taylor says he is dropping Tyler Warren. Would you rather pick up Pitts or Parkinson? Standard, non-PPR.
Standard.
Yep. So you're not getting any points for the receptions. You said Pitts.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'll say this: we know for sure that Pitts is going to get 1 more touchdown, because then he'll be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to start his career. So he needs 1 more. He's at 4 right now. Didn't think he was going to get it until last week happened. He had 1 heading into last week, got 3. He's guaranteed 1 more of the last 3 weeks. So does it happen in week 16, 17, or 18? I don't know. Obviously it's a joke, but I think I still go Pitts. Like, what we've seen with Cousins here the last couple of weeks, 22 targets. And did Cousins play against the Jets as well? I can't remember if he did. Yeah, he did. So we're looking at 30 targets over the last 3 weeks for Kyle Pitts, and that kind of lines up for when Cousins kind of took over. So I like Pitts. I liked what I saw from Parkinson, but they use so many tight ends. They use a lot of 3 tight end sets in LA for the Rams, and so I think it's going to be a little bit hard to trust, a little Billsy kind of, where it's like, okay, here we go, Parkinson, even though he has been involved lately, but I think I go Pitts there.
I think this will very much come down to whether or not Drake London plays. If Drake London is back, you can't play Pitts, unfortunately. He becomes just a useless asset, unfortunately. So as that news progresses, that'd be how it unfortunately goes because, again, I completely agree. Pitts is awesome with London's not there, and I don't think that's going to change. But with Adams potentially out, Parkinson is the touchdown machine, so it's brutal. So not ideal.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, obviously, like the Pitts and London thing, it matters more to me in PPR. Half or full. Standard, it does affect him, but it could also help a little bit move that offense and then more touchdown opportunities potentially. So it definitely makes more of a difference in PPR. But I just, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like Parkinson had a great game. Yeah, he's been involved the last few weeks, but it's like it's still Colby Parkinson, like
Yeah, we know
and
what it
the
is.
Rams are yeah, exactly. And so it feels like you're chasing a little bit there, and it could work out because the Rams are using their tight ends like that. But I'm probably still gonna lead Pitts.
Yep. All right. So evening polo. Nice work having both. Hopefully you play Pitts over Fannin this week, but just how it's going to go. With that in mind, though, tight ends available. Shouldn't be any surprise. Brought it up because, again, with the fact that Adams is out, I'm going to go with the hot hand of Colby Parkinson. I agree. It's very iffy. It's not something I'm willing to trust, but 5.2% roster, widely available, continues to score. This is an offense that continues to roll, and so I can't quite get away from it. Like you said, they are running a lot of three tight end sets, which means that one of them is more likely leaking out for the offensive opportunities to receive, and so Parkinson's kind of been the benefactor of that. So, only want to bring it up because I again had to touch on it. Want to make sure everybody knew. Definitely a lot of risk involved. That's also why he's widely available. So, I'd much rather go with your options. So,
Yeah, and that being said, Parkinson has played over 60% of the snaps since week 11, and yesterday was over 85. So he's out there quite a lot, even though they have three guys that they use a lot. Yeah, Brenton Strange, we got to throw him out there. Was having a pretty good season. Lawrence is playing better. He had a dud. He's had two duds, unfortunately. So it's going to make people kind of go off of him a little bit, but I still think like he's as much of a candidate to have a good game as Parkinson, as these all these other streamers. So it is the Broncos that they're playing. So it's obviously a really really tough defense where you could see them getting shut down pretty easily. But that being said, Broncos when it comes to tight ends are more middle of the pack and actually second most points to tight ends over the last month. The Broncos have given up. Now you do have to check who they're playing because that does so much rely on who do they play because that's tight ends. So they played Musgrave, they played Bowers. Zach Ertz and Kelsey, I believe, falls in there as well. So some good tight ends there, but they're giving up points there. Still don't mind Brighton Strange. AJ Barner, I'll throw out there as another guy that's playing quite a lot. Elijah Arroyo is dealing with a knee injury, and because of that, Barner played 83% of the snaps. So we saw a couple games earlier in the season with Barner having some good production, and he's going to be out there quite a lot for Seattle. They need to get another option going in this game. They try to get Rashid Shaheed going a little bit, but teams are going to be able to shut down JSN potentially if you play a really good defense. They're going to game script him out. Someone has to step up here. Do they get it through the tight end position? Let's see. I think Dalton Schultz is technically under 50%. I would pick up Dalton Schultz as well. He's been really, really good this year. Surprisingly good. I think a lot of people would be kind of surprised how good Schultz has been this year. Obviously, if he's out there, pick him up. Our guy Juwan Johnson, he's production's down and stuff, but he's still always a candidate. Theo Johnson is another one. I think Theo Johnson's like a top 12 tight end this year, and he's out there in about 60-70% of leagues. So
all right. Well, that'll wrap up our tight ends. We'll move in defenses and go back to a team that's actually surprisingly good on defense and gets an incredible matchup. The Saints are taking on the Jets. They're 15% rostered, and while they haven't been excessive, they're also not killing you, but they're widely available. So this is a week that you're in potential trouble because all of the good defenses are taken more often than not or beat up. And so, of them, this is the one that is most widely available that I trust the most. And a game that I'm going to guess is going to be lower scoring. It's also why I really like the Chiefs versus Chargers and vice versa. That seems to have worked out because I think both are top 12 currently on this week. And so, definitely who I'm looking at. Do you have somebody you like better?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily like him better, but I did mention San Francisco last week and said this was a 2 week play. You got last week against the Titans, which, the Titans actually put up some points against the 49ers defense. So that could be a little bit concerning for sure. Um, but the 49ers this week, they get the Colts. Old Man Rivers is playing again. They are, I love seeing Rivers one last go, but man, he cannot throw the ball down the field at all. And teams are going to wise up to that pretty quickly. And they're going to be able to shut that down. So I don't mind the 49ers against the Colts again. Also, don't mind the Chiefs. I mentioned the Chiefs as kind of a 2 week type of team as well. Playing the Chargers, thought it was going to be a pretty low scoring game, and it was 16-13. And they get the Titans this week. So don't mind the Chiefs as well. Kind of looking through, I don't know if there's really anyone else I'm going to be targeting.
No, it's
This
pretty brutal
week
out there,
that
bro.
are already rostered. Yeah, it is bad. So those are the two for sure. The three, Chiefs, Niners, and Saints. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Nick is going to ask before we get out of here: DK or Jay Warren tonight? He needs 19 points. I think I'm going to have to go DK, right?
Yeah, you have to go DK.
It's the
Yeah.
only one likely to
I'd
get
probably
you
go
19 points.
DK. Yeah, even if Warren didn't have the sickness, I'd probably still go DK.
And then Harris asked, "Thanks for the advice. Would any of these bench guys that he can let go of, or hang on to? So, would you rather have Vidal, Algier, Monungai, Hampton in order to pick up a wide receiver? I mean, I think of those, the one I'm
Those
least
guys.
likely to hold on to is Algier. Oh, except for he has Bijan.
Yeah, probably. Oof, that's kind of tough. Then, to be honest, do you just roll the dice and drop Algier and just hope Bijan doesn't get hurt? Um, the other guys you could start, you know,
Yeah,
like Manungai could be starting. Vidal could be starting potentially. I still believe in Hampton potentially though. Like, he got 16 touches last week. So to me, it's either Vidal or Algier. It's one of those two. I probably just lean Algier and just hope Bijan doesn't get hurt. So
yeah.
one of those two.
And then would you prefer the Chiefs or Saints defense this week? Nick Walker is saying that he feels like the Chiefs at Tennessee is a trap game. I mean, I'm not too worried about either of these,
That
but
definitely could
it's
be.
iffy.
Yeah,
Chiefs are a good
I,
defense.
I, they are. The offense does need to help a little bit, but I do believe that Minshew can move the ball and move this offense and stuff like that. So that's a tough one. If it's Brady Cook, I probably want the Saints. I don't know. Do we know if it's Brady? We don't know yet, right? So
No,
um,
yeah, I agree. If it is Brady, I would still probably go the Saints, because he didn't look super,
yeah,
but didn't do enough.
yeah.
So really dependent on who it is. So, and then one last one because I know you are the deep guy for rookies. So 2026, have you looked into any of the rookie class yet? Started breaking them down?
I have actually, and so I assume you play Dynasty from this comment, or maybe you're looking at redraft. It's not that deep of a class right now. It's the classes always get better as we get closer. Like, oh, we start finding guys and stuff like that. But what I'm really worried about is a lot of the top prospects this year. And again, if this is for dynasty rookie drafts and stuff, they're all underclassmen. Like especially the quarterbacks. Fernando Mendoza from Indiana just won the Heisman. He's a junior. Dante Moore is a sophomore. Ty Simpson from Alabama is a junior. Those are your top three quarterbacks. Those guys could all be first round picks. Lenora Sellers was another guy. He was a sophomore, just announced he's going back to school. So it's not super deep. I think it's very top heavy. Not super excited for this draft. If we're talking dynasty, if you can change your 26 picks into 27 picks, that's probably what I'd be looking to do. And then, for redraft, there'll be a couple guys, Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame, Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end, a couple receivers that should go top 10, top 15, maybe 4 or 5 receivers in the first round. So there's going to be guys, but it's just not as deep. So, in my opinion, on December 15th.
Yeah, it's still really early because a lot of people haven't declared whether they're staying or going. A lot are probably going to go and try to get some money in college as well, transfer a little bit, get some paid up ahead of time to prepare themselves. But again, it's just a little early still, so we'll continue to prep and get ready for next year, and the looking into rookies will definitely more likely happen then. So, but that'll wrap up the wire for now 15, going into 16. For week 16, you have all the players that we want to talk about. Good luck. Enjoy this game. Hopefully you have your Monday Night Miracle going. And remember, as always, to keep with nonsense, and we will see you next week.